Today is a training video, so it can be used at any time to refer back to. So I'll first tell you what you need and a little bit about the Orly FX, which is what we're focusing on today, so that if you completely forget something, everything you need is what I'm telling you, so you don't necessarily have to watch the whole video if that's just what you've forgotten. So Orly FX is like shellac, it's just basically a different brand. We use an LED light instead of a UV light to cure the gel, so it's a gel polish. So it lasts for about 2 weeks, depending on how that person treats their nails, but usually about 2 weeks. So we use a nail file to file the nails. So our nail files are disposable, so we can either throw them away or we can give them to the client. So the other thing we need to use is a cuticle oil. So the cuticle oil is one of the end things that we do. Instead of prepping the nail with a cotton wool and a nail polish remover, we use the fibrella, which I cut into little rectangles, and that's so that there's no lint left on the nail, so you need a good pile of these. We use a brush for dry brushing in between the base coat and the first coat of the Orly FX. We use a 3-in-1 cleanser, and that preps the nail, so it dehydrates the nail ready for the primer and the base coat and the polish. When it comes to getting the Orly FX off, we soak it with the 3-in-1 cleanser. Sorry, the gel remover. We use four of the polishes, so we use a primer first, that doesn't need curing, and then we use a base coat. The base coat does need curing. In between the base coat and the first coat we dry brush. Then we use 2 or 3 coats of the polish colour, and we cure it every single time. So the curing time is 30 to 60 seconds. With a darker colour it's 60 seconds. With a lighter colour it's usually 30 seconds, it doesn't require as much. And then we do a top coat. I think I got those mixed up. So you've got primer, base coat, dry brushing, 2 or 3 coats of your colour, and then top coat. And then you use the 3-in-1 cleanser after that to just remove any excess tackiness. We also use a cuticle pusher, so we push back with that. That's metal, that'll be here in the video as I'm doing it, but both of the girls are doing pedicures at the moment, so they're both in use, so I need to sterilise that before I use that. Also, if you're wearing nail polish and you're doing this, it's a good idea when you're using either the 3-in-1 cleanser or the gel remover to use some gloves so that your nail polish doesn't come off. Cool, so next I'll be showing you how to do it. Okay, so my model is Nikki and she's wearing some clear nail polish. So I've got my fibrella here that I've chopped up so that we don't have any lint on Nikki's nails. So we'll start off with that. The reason I've got gloves on is because I've got nail polish on and I don't want to ruin my nail polish. Might happen anyway. This nail polish remover is a bit evil and may eat my gloves. So let's do all that. So we'll come back to Nikki's hands later because it's pointless watching the whole of this. This is our amazing cuticle implement. So it is actually the Orly FX pusher and remover. So this pushes the cuticles back really well, which means that the Orly FX penetrates well, and you've got like a really larger nail base to deal with. So I'm just going to show you how to do a couple of nails, and then once again we're going to move on. So you're not too namby-pamby about it. Is that alright, Nikki? That's all we're using? Fantastic. So I'll get Nikki to move her hand over here. So you see that right about there. So we moved her cuticle up quite a bit, and I'll actually hold this one up so you can see closely what I'm doing. We do actually have a cuticle remover, and I'll pop that on in a minute. Okay, so we'll come back to that in a moment. Okay, we're using this product called Cuticle Away, which is a C&D product, and it's great. You've just put it on the cuticles, leave it on there for a while. I usually put it on, push the cuticles back, and then trim if necessary. So I'll just show you a couple of nails. So I just pop it on. We actually put it on the whole of the nail because it's also like it's got a little bit of got a bit of a bleaching quality, so if somebody's got a brown nail, it can help just make the nail a bit more even in colour. So if we leave that on, just rub it in for a little bit. And the way we remove it, after pushing back and using the cuticle nippers to trim away any excess cuticle, is with the Orly FX we don't want our hands to be like immersed in water, because if your nail bed is wet it messes with the gel polish. So I just use a hot towel after I've trimmed everything away. I use a hot towel and use the towel that I've got here just to make sure everything's dry, and then we can get started. So I'll just push those few bits and then we'll just do a little bit of trimming, and then I'll finish off with Nikki's nails by, I'll show you just a little bit of filing, and then we'll get right down to the nitty gritty. So I'll finish this off. We finished with the cuticle removal now, including the pushing back of the cuticles and also the trimming, and we've obviously found the most beautiful, gorgeous, newest towel to use, but hey, that's okay. Nikki's not a real client. So the next thing we're going to do is file. So the towel's not very moist, which means that the water will evaporate quite quickly. So then we get our nail file, which is disposable or we can give to the client, and we start just filing our nails as we would normally. So this is just like a normal manicure. We're just going to use the 3-in-1 cleanser now, just to clean Nikki's nail beds and dehydrate them. So I've got my my fibrella, so you can see it's quite wet. So we've prepped Nikki's nails by pushing them back with the cuticle pusher. We've used the cuticle remover, the cuticle away, and then we've trimmed them as well with our cuticle nippers, and we've also filed them. So we're all ready. The next step is going to be to prime the nails. So I'll show you that in a moment. So this is a primer, so it's not very liquidy, so you should have enough to do each hand with just one lot. So you're just going across the very bottom. So if you see any fluff, just take it off with your fingers. So it's pretty much from the edge of the nail as far as the brush will go, and you don't need to use the light for this at all. Okay, so next we have the base coat. So once we get up to the coats of polish, they're actually really, really hard. It's really hard to get a small amount. So Orly FX says to put it on very, very thinly, think thin. It's virtually impossible, so don't be alarmed. So this little brush is quite easy to put on. So what you're thinking is you're thinking like a sandwich. So you want to go right up to the cuticle but without touching the cuticle, and cover the whole base of the nail. And you want to go just past the free edge a little bit. So a good way to do that is just to keep your brush really flat, and then it almost touches the edge of the nail. So what I mean by a sandwich is you're doing your base coat, and then you want your colour to not quite reach the edges of that base coat, so that when you put the top coat on, it's like a ham in the sandwich, but the ham's not going outside the sandwich. So it's just encased in those two layers, the base layer and the top coat layer. So after we've done this, I'm going to put these 4 fingers into the light, and we're going to leave it for 30 seconds. So now if you put your hand into here, I'm going to put the light on for 30 seconds to cure it, and then I'm going to show you how to dry brush. Okay, so we've done the dry brushing all over, and because we've cured all of these under the LED light, so that's the base coat done. So we have to use this, which is our colour, so we have to shake it well first. So I'm going to shake it before I apply it, and you'll see that it comes out quite thickly, and it's actually a little bit tricky, and I do actually need to wipe around the lid. So just make sure you haven't got too much on your brush. So you're going quite high up to the cuticle because it will actually shrink. Just make sure that you don't have lots of stuff coming out off your brush. So we're going to do the first coat, and then we're going to cure it under the light for 30 seconds. So as you can see, I'm just going as far as I can up to the cuticle. Oops, absolutely touch the cuticle, that's not ideal. But I'm sure it will be fine. And you'll see when I cure it that it does actually shrink back a wee bit. So it is quite important to go up as far as you can, so you need a steady hand. Okay, so now we're going to put Nikki's 4 fingers under the light. I've actually done her thumb as well. You can actually put them side by side under the light if you want. Just leave your finger out, and we'll do that later. And then what we'll do is we'll get Nikki to put her 2 thumbs in like that. So when you're in a real client situation, if they've got little fingers, put 4 fingers in like that, and then when you cure it, you can put your thumbs in. Okay, so we've done our first coat. So if we bring the camera along, you'll just see that it's quite a pale pink. So for this colour, we actually want to do probably about 3 coats of the pink. So we're just doing the second coat now. So we're actually quite lucky it didn't shrink back too much. So if you see the way that I'm going flat, this means that we catch the ends there. If you get any bubbling, it's usually because you put too much on. So on one of the nails there is a small amount of bubbling, and it's from my base coat. So it is quite important to try and stay as thin as you possibly can. So I think it's this one, it's just a little bit more bumpy, probably not even noticeable to the client. You'd actually have to point it out for her to notice. And oh, see, that's too much. So if you get into that situation, just tip your brush back in. So now for the second coat, we're going to put them in under the light for 30 seconds. So while that's on, I'm going to go back to this hand and just do the fingers. That will give you a look at the third coat, and then you'll be able to see the difference in the colour and the depth of colour. So just a quick look at the second coat. So you can see it has shrunk back just a little bit, and those ones are actually looking fine. Okay, so to do the thumbs, Nikki's thumbs are actually quite short, so just kind of hold at the knuckle there and push down a little bit. And because they're quite short, you don't want to get the polish on the finger. So you need to go back for more. Once again, I've got a little bit too much there. So because that's shrunk away a bit, I'm just trying to get up a little bit closer to the cuticle so that when it grows out naturally, it's all fine. So I just feel like it's just a little loose bit there. So I'll show you with the other thumb as well. Bearing in mind that we are doing 3 coats. So I have got a little bit on the cuticle there, so that's not ideal. So hopefully this isn't turning into a video of how not to do Orly FX, but if it is, it'll give you a few pointers. Right, so now we're going to put the thumbs in to cure for the second time. Okay, so we're going to get Nikki to put her thumbs in for us, so that's how to do the thumbs, and then I'll just push 30 seconds again. So I've got one more lot to do, but I'll just do that and then show you the top coat. Okay, so this is 3 coats, so as you can see there's just a lot more depth to the colour. So we're looking pretty good. I have got it on a couple of cuticles, so I'll show you what to do after we finish that. So I'm just going to start once again with this little pinky. So as you can see there is just so much on the brush, it's not funny. So it's like off, off, off. Okay, so this is the top of the sandwich. So we really want to make sure that we've got it everywhere. We've got it a little bit higher than the actual colour and right round on the side. And so then after this we cleanse again with the 3-in-1 cleanser, and that just gets the tackiness off. So I'll show you after we've cured it what to do, because it's pretty much just putting the top coat on, and as you can see it's just exactly the same as the base coat in the colour. Okay, so we're just putting them in for the last final top coat. So I'll put them in for 30 seconds again. I've just put everything in for 30 seconds just to be on the safe side. And I did put the top coat on quite quickly, so it'll be interesting to see whether anything bubbles. So final bit here, doing the thumbs, and you can actually see where it shrunk back a wee bit because it was right up as far as I could get it into the cuticles. So I'll show you again how to put the thumbs in. So Nick, if you could just put your thumbs in side by side, and then we'll do 30 seconds. Okay, so if you come over here for a second with the camera, I'll show you what we're going to do next. So we're going to do the 3-in-1 cleanse, and it just seems so wrong to put this on nails, which if we're doing a manicure would still be dry. So we just get a little bit of this and we just swipe it over each nail, and it just takes the tackiness off, but the nails are completely dry. Okay, so we've got the 3-in-1 cleanser, and we're just wiping. Wipe. And then I'll show you, I have got it on the cuticle on a few of the nails. Oopsie daisies, a bit rubbish I am. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get the cuticle trimmer. I'm actually going to attempt to trim that off. What we do is cuticle oil, so just swipe that over the cuticles and then rub it in. So because of the way that these products are made, not the cuticle oil but the gel polishes, generally the oil can penetrate onto the nail bed underneath the Orly FX or the shellac or the gelish or whatever. So it's really important to tell your client to look after their cuticles while they've got this on. And then it's also very, very important to tell your client to come in when they need these off, because otherwise if they pick and peel them off their nails, then they're really not going to be happy, their nails are not going to be good. Whereas if we take it off professionally, then it's going to be great. And it's at this point that you just put a little bit of cream on the client's hands and it's all good to go. And that is Orly FX. So I hope you learnt how to do it. I hope it was a foolproof step by step, and over and out.